Hey everyone, I thought I would do a quick review of this Citizen NB6004. There are two variants of it. There's one with this titanium bracelet, and there's one with a rubber strap. There's also the NB6005. There's two variants of that. Those both have the rubber strap rather, an IP coated case, and different colors. One's like blue, and one is green and gold. I got this one because it's the only one, to my knowledge, that has a bracelet, and that's always my preference. One thing that's kind of notable about this watch is, I might be mistaken, but I think it's Citizen's first dive watch that has their 9000 series movement in it. It's a 9051, the same movement that is in this watch right here. This one came later. That NB prefix in the name, it's not that it's the NB movement, but that's kind of code for knowing it's a 9000 series movement. All of the if it starts with an N and it's a Citizen, it's a mechanical, it's an automatic. The NY and the NJ and the NK, those are all the older 8000 series movements. It's still a great movement, but the NB being the 9000 series means a lot of modern flourishes. The second hand sweeps at 28,800 beats per hour as opposed to the older watch's 21. This watch has a 42-hour power reserve. I think the 9000 series also has a direct drive seconds hand, so you can feel there's less play when you're setting it. Let's zoom in on this so you can get a good look. I think it's a really interesting looking watch. The circular indices here, they remind me of the Orca. That's another Citizen dive watch. It's very visible. At the end, I'll give a Lume shot. It is fully titanium, and it is using Duratec. That's what they call their surface hardening. Titanium is a very strong and very lightweight metal, but it's also very soft. So it scratches very easily. So you really do want Duratec on a titanium watch because it can help. It'll still scratch though. It's not impervious. I really like this watch. I like the clasp that it comes with. You see a bunch of Citizen divers that have this. It's a fully milled clasp. There is an adjusted section back here, so it's kind of on the fly. I've found though that this is more of a wetsuit adapter. Like if you're wearing it like this all the way, then you really should have put more links in it. Pushing in, you don't have to pull anything. You can't pull it out unless you hold these back, and you can do that. So if I have to do that, it's not a big deal. There have been some times where I have extended the watch and I've put this in. I'm actually mostly talking about this clasp on other watches. This watch here, I haven't worn a ton. What struck me is this really interesting bezel insert. I just made another video showing the only watches that Citizen ever made with ceramic insert. For whatever reason, they are opposed to it or they're just afraid of it. So when you see these premium Citizens, their inserts there, they try unique and weird things. This is kind of like a knurled metal. I don't know if you see that pattern there. I can't get too close without it blurring. The crystal is domed, so we're going to pick up a lot of lights. That is a sapphire crystal. I believe it has AR on it as well. I really like how the minute hand on a lot of Citizens stands out with that bright orange. This is a 24 millimeter lug width, and even though I said I like a bracelet, I have found that one of the selling points, to me at least, about a titanium watch is the lightness. And for some of the other watches that I have, like even this guy, I kind of prefer to wear it on a strap, like go all in on the lightness. Have a light watch with a really light nylon strap is a lot of fun. I would wear this on a bright orange strap to match that. There's Maritac makes some really awesome straps. This is actually a 24 millimeter lug width. That's pretty wide. There's only a couple of watches out there that I have. I think these Citizens. We have some other Citizen divers on the table here. Just so I can show the size comparison. I don't know if you're familiar with this watch. This is upside down because it's a left-hand crown. This is affectionately called the Ecozilla, and the Ecozilla actually dwarfs this one. I don't know if there's a name for it. It's not. There's a type. I I don't know a good name. Retrozilla, people call this. I can't think of one on the fly. But they're comparable. When it comes to weight, though, there's no question. This feels like a brick, and this feels super lightweight. I think on a really small titanium watch, I've found in the past, it can feel almost like a toy. But when you have a really big titanium watch, it still has enough heft where I don't feel like it's cheap. I'm wearing another Citizen dive watch, one of my favorites. This is an NY 0040. That NY is the older 8000 series movement. And I think this is a 39 millimeter watch. We get a nice size comparison here, but also I think these are very comparable in weight. If I do this, humankind should invent a device that lets you know how much a thing weighs. That would be really cool. But until then, we're just going to have to compare one thing to another. Yeah, these are pretty comparable. And you can see their size difference. And in the same way that this watch doesn't feel like a toy, neither does this. I did want to point out that thickness. You know, I have some other watches that are this thick. I think this is 15 millimeters thick. I have my plastic calipers right here. Yep, 15 millimeters. But the way that it is 15 millimeters, it feels really huge. All right, so 6 minutes in, let's put it on the wrist. I have a 7.5 inch wrist, and I think that works for me. But you know, when you see it on a side profile, it really is loud. Even this watch right here, the Ecozilla, I think because it's rounded, it doesn't feel as, well, it feels big. It's a big watch. But you either love this or you hate it. I think I've heard some people compare this to the Tuna or the Monster from Seiko, because you can see, it reminds me more of the Monster has something kind of like this, where it's almost like a shroud, but it exposes a lot more on the sides here. It is very easy to turn. I've said in the past that titanium dive watches have a distinct way how the dive bezel feels. Because it's titanium, it's a little softer. I wouldn't quite say cheap, though. I think it just feels, I don't know, I actually think it's kind of nice. Some of the gripes I have on this watch, that bezel, as interesting as it is hard to read. I would have thought that these numerals would have been fully lumed or polished, or, you know, maybe the inner portion could be darker. Instead of this gunmetal color, it could have been more of a black, and these indices could have been brightened up, because at a quick glance, like, where is your indicator? When it's dark, you can see because only the pip is loomed, but otherwise that can be hard to see. It is a thick watch. The bezel protrudes beyond the crystal. I have other 15 millimeter watches that feel really thin because you're measuring the back of the case to the tip of the crystal, but not in this. It feels like a big watch because it is. Other than that, I love the movement in here. I love the titanium. I love what Citizen's doing. I bought this shortly before this guy came out, and I wore it only a couple of times, but I am learning that a smaller dive watch, yeah, same clasp. A smaller dive watch, I think I just prefer a little more. It wears a little nicer. But this is a pretty plain Jane basic bezel, at least the other ones. Kind of novel. Oh, in case you're curious, this black dial version of this watch normally comes on a rubber strap. I bought the titanium separately. And this Ecozilla is an old one. Some of the originals were available on this OEM bracelet. You can get aftermarket ones. But I think that's all I wanted to mention. Let's get some dimensions on here and then some lume. I'll compare it side by side with these other watches, and I think that's all we need to do. So we're talking 46 millimeters. Yeah, 46 millimeters, and honestly, it feels 46. Yeah, I think that's pretty spot on. And lug to lug, 50. Yeah, that's a big watch. The crown I have no problem with. It's a good size, unlike that guy. Easy to wind. I kind of would have wanted crown guards. It kind of feels like it's just exposed out here, especially considering the rest of the watch. One of the other things I wanted to mention, the bracelet, as much as I love it, and I did mention that I think it'd be more fun to wear this without, if you could find a 24 millimeter strap. It isn't a particularly exciting bracelet. That is your standard oyster. I would have thought they could have done some really interesting, like knurling, something on the bracelet to kind of match the watch. I think the watch is unique. It's distinct and it's special. The bracelet, I can't say that. It is just a bracelet. Let's compare it to some of these other guys. This is what I call an Eco Fugu. This is the really cool structural dial version. And you can see it feels bigger than that. This is a 44 millimeter watch though. Let's compare it side by side again with my mechanical Fugu. I'll put some of my watches upside down because that's fun. Yeah. You know, from some angles it doesn't feel as big. The dial on this is small. So much of this width is bezel and bezel insert, and then the case, it's kind of layered. It does hide its size, but it's a big watch. And lastly, let's compare with, some people are calling this a Retrozilla. Okay, this one is not upside down. And once you get that watch involved, well, the lug to lug on this definitely exceeds it. Look at that depth. Yeah, this kind of dwarfs over most of the other watches in the collection. Really cool if you have a bigger wrist and you like large watches and you've been looking to Citizen, but you want an automatic watch. Take a look at really one of these two. To my knowledge, these are the only Citizens that use the NB, or yes, the NB, correct. I'm losing it. NB, not movement, but at the prefix in the model name. They have plenty of Eco divers that are even bigger than this. They have a 1,000-meter watch. But these are your options, and I think they're pretty awesome options. All right, let's turn off. Yeah, if I ever put metal on metal, I do it softly. Let's turn off the lights and get some Lumen here. I think that's it. Oh, nice. It looks pretty good on the... This is what we came here for, so let's do this one first. Citizen, you know, I don't even think they have a name for their Lume, but it's always really impressive. You know, it's not going to be full Lume like this guy. It's their green Lume, not their blue Lume like they use on the Eco Drive. Yeah, it's not full Lume, but very visible, really cool watch. And as I said, you can't feel the weight of this, and there is no device out there that will tell us how much these weigh. But take it from me, they're pretty comparable. It doesn't feel like a toy, nor does it feel like it really weighs you down. Awesome. I think that's it. Thank you very much.